Hi everybody, just a quick 2 minutes on the podcast with Andy Preston. You may or may not know, the first time we did a podcast, it was 4 years ago-ish. He was on the campaign trail to be mayor, so I thought it'd be nice to get him in, discuss his 4 years in the mayorship, and that was the aim of podcast one. Once we finished podcast one, he sent me a really nice message the next day saying, I think actually we could have touched more on some of the subjects that we discussed. He wanted to dive deeper on some of the things that we perhaps hinted towards within local councils and things like that. Can we do another episode? So you've got a two-parter. So we went back in the flock a couple of days later and recorded like an even longer episode, which is about an hour. So this is part one. Hope you enjoy it. It's a bit more focused on, I guess, what he wanted to try and impact in his 4 years as the Middlesbrough mayor. And then there's a part two coming soon, hopefully about a week later. So yeah, enjoy this episode. Do let me know your thoughts and your feelings and your feedback. One thing I wanted to say also is that, I'm not a political commentator. I don't know that much about politics, so I guess this isn't me being a cop-out, but he talks about a lot of things that I guess I don't understand and I don't know the processes of. So he kind of has to break it down for me in sort of layman's terms. But also, he put some points across that due to my limited knowledge, I guess, of some of the scenarios and situations, I don't feel educated enough to kind of like play devil's advocate and talk about the other side. So if you're wondering why perhaps I didn't challenge him a bit more or question some of the things he said, it's basically down to my political ignorance. But I thought it was quite an interesting chat, and I hope you take something away from it. Thanks very much. Enjoy the episode. Also, for the first 30 seconds, the audio is a bit funny. You can actually literally, if you watch the video, see me press record on the on the button, and then the audio clears up. So yeah, be patient for the first 30 seconds. It doesn't sound that bad, but it's not as clear as some podcasts. And then after that, it's great. So yeah, have a beautiful day. Alright, so thank you everybody for tuning into this episode of RBTV. I'm very happy to have Andy Preston back on the podcast.
Hi.
If we had a room full of people, I'm sure we'd get a round of applause, but it's just me. And the last time we spoke, I mean, it was 4 years ago. You were on the campaign trail, and wouldn't it be a fun experiment for you to kind of just, I guess, digest that, take it in? You're so busy. I wonder if you even have time to stop and take things in sometimes. So yeah, I literally just thought let's have a chat and yeah, see I guess get all your thoughts and opinions, I guess, on what those 4 years were like. Mm-hmm. And first off, from me, I guess, thinking about you running for that position 4 years ago, already successful in many fields. It wasn't something you needed to do, fiscally, financially. I dare say you didn't need a job. Mm-hmm. You probably left quite a few jobs and responsibilities to go and do that. So I can understand the reasonings why, but did it kind of match up to, were you able to get done what you wanted to get done in that position?
That's a really good question, and I'll give you a very long answer if that's all right.
That's fine. We've got
but the first thing you touched on there, you said that I'm really busy and often don't have time to sort of think, or I can't remember the word phrase you used, think about what I'm doing or analyse it or whatever. And that's a really important message, actually, I'd love to share with people.
Yeah.
Something that I need to do more of, and I think everyone benefits, is intelligently try and do a bit less.
Yeah.
Don't stop doing important stuff.
Yeah.
But when you're running around all day, and I'm one of the world's worst at this, when you're running around all day, it can be stressful, it can feel good, it can feel bad, but you actually become really inefficient. Uh-huh. And if you can jettison some things, get rid of some of the stuff that's not as important and focus on the important stuff, what you'll find is the stuff you're doing, you'll do better.
Yeah.
The stuff that matters to you, your family, your company, your employer, whatever, you'll do that better. And that's a really important message. But your main question there was about me, 4 years, is it... Sorry, go on.
Did you get... I guess, did you have the impact that you wanted to have?
No. I do think that a lot of good stuff has happened, and much of it wouldn't have happened if someone else had been mayor.
Yeah.
But a number of the things that I wanted to do have taken too long or just not possible. Some of that is actually stuff like COVID and the legacy of COVID. Of
course, yeah.
Everything froze, right? Everything just basically shut down.
Yeah.
we've done some great stuff, and we could talk about that. But there have been a lot of frustrations too, and I do think the Middlesbrough Council and all councils can move faster. They have to be slow and careful. They do. They do have to be slow and careful. But they can move a lot faster, and they can get loads more done. It's about changing the culture.
Yeah. So I mean, that raises to one of the points I was going to mention today, actually. So I worked at a wonderful, large organisation, Teesside University. I'll put it out there. Amazing people, very aligned in what they want to do. But they employ 2,000 people. They have to be so careful, as the council does, with everything that they do and the steps that they take. That I really struggled in my role in there because of, I guess, bureaucracy and paperwork and all that in there. So I could only imagine in your seat it was tenfold.
Totally. I mean, listen, the way I see it is, if me and you set up a company or a charity, and we just us working there, we'd do everything, wouldn't we? We'd fix the lights sometimes, we'd wash the windows, we'd try and raise money, we'd all do a bit of everything. Yeah. As you get bigger, you get this division of labour, and when you get into huge organisations like a university or a council, you get monstrous division of labour and really strict rules about who's allowed to do what. Yeah. And it's the most annoying thing in the world when you need a light bulb changing or there's a dripping tap.
You just want to stand on that chair and do it.
Or something more serious, and you're just not allowed to do it. Yeah. But there's another factor as well. It's not just about getting to a certain size. It's about the kinds of people that are attracted to certain jobs. So let's imagine, I don't know, people who work in investment banking tend to be politically, on average, slightly right of centre, very self-reliant, largely confident, largely ambitious, and probably inclined more than most to take a bit of risk. Yeah. They're not all nutty mavericks, but on average, slightly more that way. Yeah. When it comes to working in a council, most people are going to be, they are. Not everyone, but most people on average are slightly more risk averse. Yeah. Like a more stable life. Yeah. Don't want to exchange higher returns for bigger risks. They'd rather have a quieter life, a stable job. Yeah. They don't see the upside. They like that stability and that certainty. Yeah. And also the kind of being semi-institutionalized. Yeah. So in investment banking, you do end up with lots of people of a certain way, and it needs controlling because they can all reinforce each other's biases and get out of control. Yeah. And in councils and universities and other big employers, public sector especially, again, you need to keep up with these people because they will reinforce each other's low risk, stable outcomes biases. And so they need disruptors that come in and shake them up and get them nearer to the middle. Yeah. Investment banks should take risk and councils have to be careful. There's no getting away from that. But they end up super careful in the council and too risky in investment banks if they're left alone. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. And was that... Did you see yourself as a bit of a disruptor, kind of going in there as
no, I didn't. I think I tried to, but that wasn't actually my goal, and I didn't expect that. Yeah. I was genuinely surprised that what I saw went way beyond sensible caution and sticking to rules. And basically, what it is, a lot of people are just not comfortable doing something new. They just don't want to change the way they do it. And what they do is they cite all kinds of rules. Oh, well, you can't do it because of this. And when you peel away, there's no such rule. Yeah. You're interpreting that way because of your own biases. Yeah. And so what's needed is a shake-up of local authorities, a shake-up. I don't know the university, so I don't know.
Yeah, no, the university
big
was fantastic. But
By the way, you've probably got similar problems in somewhere like British Telecom BT as you get in the council, because it's monstrous, and you get that division. As soon as you're getting above a certain size, it becomes institutional. It attracts a certain kind of people, and a certain kind of culture dominates, and you need to disrupt it. Yeah. You really do, which is easier said than done. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, as you say, it's not what you aim to do, but you could kind of end up being seen like that, I guess, coming in as an independent. Traditionally mayorships. The current mayor now obviously is Labour. Only 700 votes in that between you and him. That's very tight, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yeah. The votership. One thing that gets me, and this is just something because I make sure I vote. Elections big or small, is the percentage of people that turn out for them is
tiny.
It's criminal.
It's tiny. So, I mean, I think long and hard about this. So in Australia, I understand you still legally are obliged to vote.
Right.
Yes,
Okay. I didn't know
you
that.
are not
That's
allowed
good.
to not vote.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So you have to vote. Is that a good thing? And I suspect it isn't, because what you're doing is you're dragging people to a ballot box, metaphorically, who have no interest and no knowledge and could vote for exactly the wrong candidate, right? When I say wrong, I mean somebody dangerous, somebody racist, somebody horrible, whatever. But somewhere in the middle is we need to be encouraging more people to vote. And councils and governments say they do, but it clearly doesn't work when you're getting 28% or less people. Some parts of Middlesbrough, you will get 14% of people.
Yeah.
1 in 7. Yeah. And when you think most of those are often older people, when you're looking at people in their 20s, 30s, 40s, it's probably 8, 9%. So when you're walking down the street, you know that 90% of the people passing you are not going to vote.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the message has got to be clear. If you don't vote, you can't moan.
Yeah.
You don't vote, you cannot moan.
But if you think about the people that do moan, it's probably flipped. You know what I mean? It'll be the 96%.
Now, this is a horrible thing to say, but because I'm no longer a mayor, I'm going to say it.
Okay.
Is that the majority? I'm not going to use the word I would use at school. The majority of the big mouths.
Yeah.
Not the gob. Whatever.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That sit on Facebook. The vast majority don't vote. It's the ones who shout loudest, the ones who have the most spite, the ones who are the most suspicious. They don't vote. Yeah. And it's really dangerous because they cloud everyone else's opinion, and they are completely irresponsible citizens who spread spite, rumours and untruths, and then don't bother voting. Voting's really important, and we need to find a way of getting more people engaged, getting them active. And I used to go around different parts of town. I used to say, get angry. Protest, get angry, stop accepting.
Put sticks in your windows, talk to people,
Absolutely, absolutely. You can do it via a party, it doesn't have to be party political. You need to fight for you and your community. Yeah.
And I think that's where, as I get older, I like to believe more in, you can have an impact through local politics more than national politics, definitely.
Totally.
You know, I think
totally.
As in me walking down the street, and the more I think about that and chat to people like you, or chat to my friends or people that are in businesses or whatever, the more I think actually you can have an impact here. I just think, but in one thing I was thinking about in terms of, thinking about our chat and thinking about that conversation about so few people voting and how do we get the young people involved, I think, again, it perhaps comes back to, if you think about the council's marketing budget, number one, to processes and people behind that. I think that they just, social media, marketing, videography is moving, it's quite all right, it's moving so quickly that they can't keep up with, for me, I'd like to think I'd open up TikTok and Middlesbrough Council would
marketing budget, definitely. I mean, so I'll tell you why, it's a really interesting point. Yeah. I know, do you think that the listeners heard my burp there?
I cut it out if they
did. So apologies if you did, or if you do. Okay, so general election, the turnout is higher.
Yeah, of course.
Even though the issues are often much less connected to you. Yeah. If someone wants to build, if you've got a nice house out in the suburbs and someone wants to build a load of new houses at the back of your garden, that's a real issue to you.
Yeah.
If Labour and the Tories are arguing about where the threshold should be for a higher rate of tax, that's of less direct impact to you, I believe.
Yeah.
But the turnouts for general elections are higher. I think the turnouts are higher because a general election, the national media get on board. Yeah. And for weeks before that election, all it is every day, Tory versus Labour, a bit of Liberal, Tory versus Labour, a tiny bit of SNP, Tory versus Labour.
Yeah.
They're idiots, they're brainy, they're stupid, they're clever. And it's that back and forth, and the personalities get involved. Yeah. And people get motivated to vote and they have an opinion.
Yeah.
The local council, it's much quieter. Councils try really hard to get people engaged. Yeah. But the national media won't. And that's the problem. Yeah. Having a mayor helps, actually, because the mayor, if it's done properly, you are a higher profile and you become a character that people like or loathe. Yeah. And that's actually good for politics because it drags people in.
It's interest. Yeah. That's whether it's like or loathe.
Yes. It's absolutely.
People are paying attention at least.
Yeah.
So yeah. It was almost one of those, like, if I ruled the world thoughts, but I just kind of thought, wouldn't it be, like, in an ideal world, I spend very little time on TikTok. I use it as a promotional tool for a couple of businesses, but I do what's called post and ghost. I'm gone. I put the videos on there and I get out of there because it scares me quite how predictable it is.
3 hours is gone.
Yeah, and that's not happened because I've put those things in
I'm
place.
not on
to go,
TikTok, but post and ghost. That's the way to do it. Right.
But I thought, wouldn't it be lovely if, not lovely, but I think the way forward, perhaps in that past election, would be to see a TikTok, go and vote in your local elections, whether it's
Totally.
Totally. That's how you're going to capture the audience.
Totally.
But, maybe I'll write them a note in 4 years' time.
Yeah.
But you know, I thought, and I just thought, that's perhaps what was missing from that. But but that's a side note, I guess. Speaking of love and loathe, I dare say every decision that you kind of make as a mayor that gets some sort of public interest in it, the Gazette get hold of it, which means it's shared on Facebook. And then, unfortunately, on Facebook, you kind of only see like 90% of negativity, really. You took a lot of stick, I think, over the years. How did that like affect you mentally? Did you end up kind of blocking it out? Is it upsetting, I guess?
Yeah, it is upsetting. You know, it's a new world, isn't it? It's a new world where pretty much everyone's got a Facebook account.
Yeah, almost. Yeah.
And in the old days, you know, I mean, not that I was ever a big one going to pubs, but I think in my dad's generation, like the blokes would go to the pub. Many would go 7 nights a week. Some would go 2 nights a week. But it was where you went and you chatted and you had 2 or 3 pints.
Yeah.
And there was always an idiot in the corner. And everyone knew to ignore Jimmy the idiot.
Yeah,
he talks a load of rubbish.
Or they'd say, oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, whatever. Exactly. You, the idiot in the corner is now on Facebook. And there are millions of them. And they can reinforce each other's opinions. They can tell lies. They can say all sorts. And it has credibility to some people.
Yeah.
And some people want to fear the worst or want to believe that, I don't know, something bad happened. So it's a different world now with different rules. And yeah, it does hurt. It does hurt if someone says that, you know, listen, I'm not a saint, but I'm pretty honest. I'm pretty honest. What you see is what you get.
Yeah.
I tell people when I'm not happy.
Yeah.
I tell people when I'm happy. I tell people why we can't do it. I tell people that I'll try to do it, but I don't know if it's going to work. I tell people when I'm very confident about something happening. And people can spread rumours that you've got ulterior motives or you're doing this or you're doing that. And once that's out there and it gets some traction, and it's often stoked up by people who don't believe it anyway, but they want to see you fail because of a political angle or whatever else, it gets credibility. And yeah, it's hurtful. It's hurtful. It's hurtful if one person's nasty, but you can kind of live with it. When you get a larger number, it can become really, really unpleasant. And, you know, you have good days where you just think, bollocks to them. And then you have bad days where it does affect you. Undoubtedly. You know, you can be, I don't know, at a family birthday party or whatever, and you see one comment or you get a phone call that so-and-so is saying this. And it's hard. It is hard. But it goes with the job these days. It's part of it. If you want to be visible and accountable, and visibility equals accountability, then it goes with the territory. And I said I would, so I can't whinge about it. But that's the truth about it. Is hard.
No,
it's really hard.
I can imagine. And thinking about this is kind of, I guess, another side note. But thinking about, you know, you mentioned, you know, being at a family birthday party or something like that. Did you have a holiday? Are you allowed to take a holiday as a mayor?
Well, apparently not, because I got a load of flack.
Right.
After actually a family member had a transplant.
Okay.
There was a serious illness, and my family went on holiday.
Yeah.
I went with them. I think I travelled separately, but I went with them, and I worked from there. Literally working every day. Literally, there's email trails and video meetings, all the rest of it. And again, I stress the context is that a family member had just received a life-saving transplant, right?
Yeah.
Someone I was on holiday with. And
I'm not judging. I take my holidays. You know,
some character whipped up a few people and they put something on Facebook and went to the Gazette and said, look at this. Some people can't travel. By the way, everyone could travel then because it was during COVID, but you could travel and people were going on holiday. But they were saying everyone could travel, but the infection rate's quite high. He shouldn't be on holiday. How disgusting is this? And it gets in the paper. I think it might have been front page, and that's just horrible. It's horrible for you and your family because it's so unjust. And the papers they would argue they're only doing their job, but it's a bullshit story. What they should have done is gone back and said, well, what's the issue exactly?
Yeah.
Or they should have called me and said, what's the story here?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, a bigger story is, why is that, I'm not going to swear, why is that clown coming to us with this BS story, trying to cause trouble for someone whose family members just had a life-saving transplant, and they're working anyway. But everything is about clicks and likes. A message that I give everyone is that there isn't really such a thing as objective news.
No.
It's all about selling advertising or getting attention.
Yeah.
It's all about that. Yeah. And so all local papers will make some effort to be fair, but their job is to sell advertising, and they get that through clicks.
Targets. Yeah.
So if you go to them with a crazy story, they may dismiss it, or they may think, well, we'll give them a chance to respond.
Yeah.
However unfair it is.
Yeah.
I hope I don't sound bitter. I'm not bitter.
No,
but I'm just saying this is how it works.
That's what happens.
This is how it works. Yeah. So I do love my holidays, but there's not a day goes by where I'm not working.
Yeah.
You know, literally not a day goes by.
Yeah.
I do 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. I couldn't have done any more.
Yeah.
But and I think loads of people appreciate that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But for some horrible, nasty characters, they don't care about that. What they care is they're just trying to undermine you.
Yeah.
They're just trying to cause you distress and trouble.
But that comes from them not liking you or your policy, you know, anyway.
They want power. Figure. For many people, like getting a job is about power and money.
Yeah.
So I think the mayor's salary, it's less than what an MP earns. I think it should be the same. But it's less than MP. I think it's about £63,000. For many people, that's actually the biggest paycheck they've ever had by a mile. For many people, it's 2 or 3 times what they earned before.
Yeah.
Plus, you get the status. So people get really greedy to have that. Or if they've had it and lost it, it's even worse.
Yeah. Well, that's what attracts people to, any sort of role, whether it's, especially like we're saying now with media reinforcing it, some sort of celebrityism or things like that. I'm curious to see how the next 4 years pan out. If I feel like you had a bit of a target on your back. I wonder if the lad who's won the Labour seat, I don't know if it's because I know you or because I don't know him, but I've not seen much of him on social media. I don't know if he's going to back away from that. Do you know what I mean? And he'll get the Gazette headlines because he'll obviously want to make an impact and do things. But I feel perhaps, I feel like a bit more like people, you might have had more of a target on your back than others.
Yeah, I think so. I think, first of all, as an independent, it's about me and my goals and my values and my integrity, isn't it?
Yeah.
So if you don't like what I'm doing or you think I'm dishonest, it's deeply personal. When you're a member of a political party and there to represent the political party, it's much more general, isn't it? It's much more general. So it's much more personal. I think what we had before me, and people don't even remember, people say to me, what was the name of the last mayor? And I said, his name was Dave Budd. No, the Ray Mallon guy, the Mallon guy.
Yeah.
I said, no, there was another mayor called Dave Budd. They were like, what's that?
But Mallon was a bit of a celebrity as well, I guess.
Yes, he was. Absolutely. He was, totally. So people remember it. But they don't remember the one in between.
Yeah.
And the reason I don't remember the one in between is because he was extraordinarily quiet.
Yeah.
Now, politicians, I promise you, they want to be quiet.
Yeah.
Because a low profile, low visibility means low accountability. All politicians want power without the responsibility or accountability. Yeah. So the quieter they are, so the great thing about having a mayor, if they do it properly, is they're very visible, very reachable and very accountable. I think what we're going to have, I'm getting on to answer your question now, sorry.
It's all right.
But I think what we're going to see now is, despite a few gestures, we're going to see Middlesbrough run by a committee.
Yeah.
There will be a notional figurehead who's in the photo, but it will be a committee, just like it was before. It'll be quiet. No one will really know who to blame.
Yeah.
And that's not good.
Yeah,
that's not good.
That's the thing you wanted to say about a party is, I guess you've got something to hide behind if you want it. You could say, you could
totally.
Yeah, you could say, oh well, actually, it's, this wasn't my decision. Whereas as an independent, it's your decision.
Totally,
it's
totally.
You, isn't it?
And obviously, not every decision that's made is necessarily sanctioned by me or originated from me.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I'm happy to go out and say, do you know what? Blame me. We made a mistake on that.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important to get someone all front up the bad news, the good news.
Yeah.
Take it on the chin. Yeah. And I think people like that.
Yeah.
I think people like
yeah,
it too.
100%.
You know,
yeah.
when you say, I actually really screwed up there, didn't I? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That for me is one of the biggest characteristics of a human being in general. If you know, you kind of know when someone might have covered something up and lied about something or whatever, and we all prefer somebody who'll say, you know what, I tried that, actually.
Yeah.
I messed it up. I'm
Yeah.
really sorry. That's on me. That's my fault.
Absolutely.
That humanises somebody,
Yeah, it
whether
does.
it's
Yeah.
your apprentice, whether it's your boss, whether it's you. That's I think that's
when they do,
it's
you're
important.
grateful, aren't you?
Yeah.
As a politician, it is really hard to do.
I bet. Well, there's much more on the line.
Yeah. And also, as soon as you say it, you're going to have a bunch of people go, aha, we knew he was an idiot.
Told you so. Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I told you so.
Yeah.
But you know what? It is an astonishingly difficult job. But you could probably hide and get away with murder. But if you're out there and you're visible and accountable,
which you are and were,
it's really tough. It was aspects of it were much tougher than I imagined. Yeah.
Like what?
Just being so bloody accountable for everything, and having to say to people, you know what? Yeah, I'm sorry. That is a mistake. We need to put that right. I need to put that right. I made a mistake. We made a mistake. The other issue is actually changing the culture is really tough.
Yeah.
And what you get is what's really interesting is that I called in an outside body because I wasn't happy with what was going on at the council.
Yeah.
And that outside body specialises in working with councils when things are tough.
Yeah.
And one of the things I said to them first, I said, do you know what? When I was elected, it was tongue-in-cheek, but there was a lot of seriousness in my point, is that when I was elected, I thought I was the boss. And they said, well, you are. And I said, not here, I'm not. Yeah. And basically what you get is you will get, whether it's in Westminster, civil servants, or council officers in Middlesbrough or anywhere else, if they don't like something, they can, not necessarily will, but they can block it, stop it, frustrate it, delay it, tie you in knots. Sometimes it's because they think it's a stupid idea, and I'm sure sometimes people do, including me, come up with daft ideas. I'm sure that happens.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's because they don't like the politics of it, and sometimes it's just a power struggle. And what's really interesting, we'll talk about national politics now, the whole Dominic Raab bullying allegation. Now, I have no idea. Don't know him, never met him. I have no idea if he's the loveliest, cuddliest man in the world or whether he's a tyrant. I have no idea. But the accusation of bullying is the easiest thing to say.
Yeah.
Just as bullying exists, just like racism exists, and we need to challenge and fight that. But if you want to, you can play a blinder of a card by saying, well, I feel bullied by you.
Yeah.
I think that judgment there was based on race and ethnicity. You know, it's the easiest thing in the world to say, and disproving it is exceptionally hard.
Yeah.
And some scoundrels resort to it.
Yeah.
And I've seen it against all sorts of people in Middlesbrough Council and at other places. And the bullying card, we've got to find a way of allowing people to come forward and say when they're being harassed and bullied.
Yeah.
But stop people using it as an excuse for not doing what they're supposed to.
Yeah.
Am I talking too much?
No, not at all. I'm processing because you raise a good point. It's the being terrified of somebody going to HR against you, really, isn't it? And there's 100% cases and points and lines where that's needed, and you need HR. But there is times when people take the piss, or people use it for their own agenda.
And we've got, sometimes with the best will in the world, culture has changed, and we've just I was on, as you know, I was on Talk TV 20 minutes ago. We were talking about changes in culture and people going sick and all the rest of it. And rightly or wrongly, actually, that discussion doesn't matter on the ins and outs of that. But similarly now, a lot of people who do work think that they shouldn't or mustn't put up with any stress, or any difficulty, and I think working involves some pressure. It does. It involves some pressure, even if it's to sweep that street a little bit more efficiently, you know, where you check up on it. Even if it's to be a dinner lady who's a bit more observant and taking care of the kids. Every single job in the world has an element of pressure. And if there isn't, then it isn't worth doing. And my point is that now when people are put under pressure, I think there's a growing culture where people will call that harassment or bullying, being held to account.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah.
What I'm not saying, for the record,
Yeah.
bullying is wrong, chastisement is wrong, harassment is wrong.
Of course.
And somewhere in the middle is a grey area, and some people abuse that grey area.
Yeah.
But on both sides.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and it can fold businesses. It can cost a lot of money. It can it can do a lot of damage. It can also do a lot of good. But is there one thing that you kind of managed to get across the line over your time as the mayor that you're really proud of?
Do you know what? I'm a funny one in that pride isn't something that I ever really feel.
Okay.
And sometimes people don't believe me when I say that. And I've got a lovely house and I've got this and that. And people say, "Oh, what does it feel like to, go your drive and see your house?" And I'm just like, I'm quite driven, and I'm never someone who thinks, "Oh, look what I've achieved," or "Isn't that fantastic?" I'm just always thinking about, well, what's next? What do we do next? That's fine. I can appreciate things without feeling a sense of pride.
Yeah.
So I don't look back on my term and think, wow, that's amazing. But I think that we did some stuff that I think has been good and I think wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
And it could be as simple as thing like, to my knowledge, Middlesbrough is the only place in the whole country where you don't need to go hungry. People do, but they don't need to.
Okay.
We created, working with the brilliant White Feather Project, emergency food parcels. There was a phone number that I would share, other people would share. You could call them, Richard could call them. There's no food in the house. Oh my word, the kids are hungry. It's 9 o'clock on a Friday night. Sunday night, I'll call the White Feather and you would get a food parcel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, you couldn't abuse that. You couldn't use it twice a week for the next 4 months.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah.
They were trained and learned to try and understand what the issue was. If people were repeat users, how do we deal with that? There's obviously an issue going on. How do we deal with it? But that's a beautiful thing. And that's the simplest thing. It didn't cost a huge amount of money. And sometimes people say to me, I'm only interested in money, or all I care about is development or buildings. Like, no, like to me, that's the most fundamental thing. I think we created...
I think if that's all you cared about, you wouldn't have been the mayor.
No, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Totally. I believe in helping people to live their best life, whatever that is. If you want to be a missionary or a barrister or a bricklayer, I don't care, but do it well and feel inspired and confident enough to go and do what's necessary to achieve that goal. And I think that within Middlesbrough, there is a slightly stronger spirit of ambition, of confidence. And I think lots of people played a role in that. And I think I helped with that, which feels good.
Yeah, nice.
I think within businesses too, we create more businesses than other parts of the Northeast now. I think there's been a small culture change. It's going the right way. There's loads more work to do. I think things like bringing leisure in. There's more leisure coming into the central town. High streets, as we know them, in places like Middlesbrough or Stockton or Sunderland or Stoke-on-Trent, they're finished. And they're now going to be about experiences, about living there and about other things. And so I believe that I played a big role in getting the ball rolling on bringing Stack Leisure down the road. It looks like it's going to be delayed, Kel Surprise. But, certainly this autumn it's going to be there.
Wicked.
Loads of other leisure stuff that's going to bring many thousands of people into town. Many thousands.
Yeah, good. And I think somebody asked me about that. I put a thing on Instagram actually and said, has anybody got any questions? And someone mentioned the high street. And I kind of replied, I said, well, I can answer. Their question was, why are high streets doing that? Is there any measures in place to kind of rebuff it? And I said, my answer was, ASOS, Amazon don't exist in a vacuum. They've got to take money from somewhere.
Yeah.
And they've taken it from high streets. And that's that. And I understand
the amount of money people spend on clothes or whatever else doesn't fluctuate that much.
Yeah.
So every time you spend 10 quid on Amazon, it's £10 less at Marks and Spencer's.
Yeah, of course.
And people whinged about Marks and Spencer's, and there was the local MP did a tweet saying that there was a Marks and Spencer's wanted to stay in town and I just couldn't be bothered. And it's completely untrue. Marks and Spencer's, they analysed the numbers. They've been looking at the decline over years. There was another big Marks and Spencer's department store just 4 miles away. And they decided strategically to close it. The best thing we can, and that's because of online shopping and other factors. The best thing we can do to save our high street and save what's left of the shops is to bring people into town for other reasons.
Yeah, exactly.
Because when you're there,
you
shop, don't
online.
you?
Yeah, exactly.
You shop.
Yeah.
I was at a garden centre the other week, and I went up there and I met someone for a cup of tea. And as I walked out with this cup of tea, I had to walk past it was like going to IKEA. You walk past all these shelves of stuff no one really wants to buy.
I think I know which one it is. Yeah,
But you think, oh, I'll buy that. And it's all overpriced tat, and I'm sure they sell loads of it. And it's simply because you're walking past. That humans behave in a very predictable way. If we get people into central Middlesbrough to live, to work, and for leisure experiences, they will shop here.
Yeah.
And we can attract shops, new ones. Not yet, but we can.
Yeah.
And the future of the high street is about people living, working, and experiences.
Yeah.
And that's my plan about this. Listen, I'm not a savant, but I think I can see trends.
Yeah, of course.
At least as well as most people, perhaps slightly better. This high street decline has been coming and happening for about 15 years.
Yeah.
Maybe a bit longer. The COVID forced a lot of people that didn't shop online to start shopping online. Also stopped a lot of people working in town. They work from home now.
Yeah.
So what's happened was entirely predictable, a little bit faster than we expected.
Yeah.
I've always had 3 goals to get people living in town. We've lost 30,000 residents over 40 years.
Yeah.
Imagine if we had 30,000 extra people living in town.
Yeah.
How much safer, busier it would feel. The shops would be supported. We've got people working in town, building not just offices, but like the right kind of offices, like this place, right?
Yeah. Flock's lovely.
And then people come in for the experience, for the right entertainment, the right drinks, the right meal.
Yeah. I think that I think the biggest battle there really is living in town. As you know, I lived in town for a short while.
Yeah. You were in Gresham, weren't you?
Yeah, not far. Yeah. I now live out in the suburbs in a nice, house with my wife and my child. But because the living standards, unfortunately, weren't good enough really.
Sure.
And it is really sad because lots of people still do live there. There is lots of crime. There's some not nice. That for me, in terms of thinking about those things, that I wouldn't even know where to begin.
I fully understand it, but I'll tell you something is that places can and do change.
Yeah.
It takes time. Mm-hmm. It takes time. And what I've been trying to do is put all of the right things in place. I stress again all of the things about people working and coming for entertainment, making it safer too. And all the street cameras are put all over Gresham. They've all helped reduce crime. Believe it or not, although there are some massive problems in Middlesbrough and elsewhere, crime in Middlesbrough has fallen since I was elected.
Amazing.
And I actually want to thank Cleveland Police because they've got a new attitude, a new energy, a new ambition to sort this stuff out.
Great.
But the council played a role as well with the investment in cameras and other measures. But my point is this, is that in the 1980s, Brixton was the poorest part of London.
Right.
It was the highest crime, and so guess what? It was the cheapest part of London.
Yeah.
I lived there, and I lived there because it was cheap, and I couldn't really afford to live anywhere else.
Yeah.
If you go back to Brixton now, you see some people who've been there for 40 years, but loads of new people, younger, ambitious, energetic, fascinating independent shops and coffee houses.
Great music venues there.
Great music venues.
Yeah.
It's much safer. And if Brixton can do it, anywhere can do it. Yeah. And now people listening to this or watching this will say, but Middlesbrough's different. No. It's not. Everywhere it happens, the people who live there, who are in the eye of the storm, say, this place will never change. You say, but it happened in Islington. Oh, yeah, but Islington's different. It won't happen in Brixton. Well, it did. Oh, wait, but it won't happen in Hackney. Yeah, but it won't happen in Manchester. Manchester's different. That's London. Guess what? Manchester, Liverpool, Birmingham, Glasgow. Yeah. So I'm 56. When I was, 16, 25, that age, those cities were music hall jokes. They were the place that no one would ever go and live. Why would you go and live there?
Yeah.
And if you have to work there, like if you have to work in the centre of Manchester, you lived out in Cheshire. You bought a nice house in Cheshire. That was how it worked. If you could afford it. Uh-huh. Manchester has changed completely. People say, but that's Manchester, it's not Middlesbrough. But trust me.
It never used to be,
It wasn't Manchester. This is a natural evolution, but you have to make it a bit safer, a bit cleaner, and give people the reasons to work in the centre and the reasons to visit in the centre. Yeah. Students help a lot as well. Yeah. All you have to do is keep a small number of students on each year to stay in the centre. Over 10 years, that ends up being, I don't know,
that's
5,000 young people. And that changes the culture and the feel of the centre. That's already happening. You
see that with Sock Monkey, Radical Forge, or the wonderful gaming studios.
Totally. I'm monologuing, aren't I? Sorry.
No, it's okay. I'm agreeing with you. It's an interesting.
No, but you are, and these young companies that are moving in, it's great. But we need to build the right kind of properties for their staff to live in.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, there are loads. We mentioned Radical Forge and Sock Monkey. While we're talking about gaming, successful gaming companies, Double 11 too.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Double 11 have people coming to work in Middlesbrough from all over the world, which is great. And understandably, very often, they end up living in Mask, or
Saltburn,
15 miles away.
Yeah.
And what we have to do is create more of the right kind of apartment living and safe living in the centre of town, so that we change the way it looks and feels.
Absolutely. So, I think we're getting kicked out soon. But my question, I guess, for you is, what's next?
I do not know. I've no plan.
Good.
The day after I was...
Because it's fresh. It was only like a week, 10 days ago, something like that.
2 weeks tomorrow.
2 weeks
so
tomorrow,
13 days. And actually, we didn't get a result till Friday, so it was 12 days ago.
Yeah.
I'm not going to... Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, what was that like? I mean, do you literally go to work the next day and they give you a box of your stuff and you're out?
So it wasn't till the Friday, about 3 or 4 in the morning, when I found out.
Yeah.
I think it was a bank holiday Monday. So my first... They literally turned my emails off on the Sunday or the Monday.
Wow.
Yeah. No handover, no debrief, no...
I thought there'd maybe be a week of...
It's strange.
Yeah.
It's weird. I mean, in the US, I think it's quite different. They often have a handover.
Yeah, it takes a while,
That's just the way it works. You know. But sorry, my point was.
So what's next was my question.
What's next? I do not know. I do not know. But the day after, or that day, in fact, on the Friday, I didn't find it until 4 in the morning. By about 11 o'clock, I had a bunch of calls from some national media. Would you come on the show and talk about the election? And
understandably,
and I really enjoyed that. I love talking, being forthright. I love sharing ideas and thoughts.
Yeah.
And I've just done a bit more, as you know, with Talk TV.
Yeah.
So I would love to do more of that.
Yeah.
But on my own terms. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. But I'm not rushing into anything. I'm going to get fitter.
Yeah.
I might have a little go at boxing again.
Yeah.
Might do that.
Good on you. Yeah.
Might try and learn the piano.
Yeah. Wicked.
I'm going to get fit.
Yeah.
I'm going to get fit.
Healthy body, healthy mind.
I don't know what else. I'm just going to
nice
slow it all down and decide.
Lovely. Andy, thank you very much for your time.
Good to see you, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
Thanks very much.